Okay, so hello everyone. Okay, this is the fourth video. The last one was in Taos, New Mexico when I had my shamanic calling. And I can't remember if in the video I said that that was in 2006. I just went back. It was in August of 2005. Um, and so this next event is fast forwarding just about a little over 6 years to 2012, and this is January 31st, 2012. Now, just a little bit of information on the in-between time. So as you recall, I had the shamanic calling. I was highly surprised. It was very unexpected, and ultimately came to the conclusion that that was authentic, and that's where I wanted to go in my life. And again, made that decision driving from Taos down into Santa Fe, where I was going to be catching a flight out, and really just reflecting on my week in New Mexico with the shamanic calling. And so I made that plan at that point in time. And so over the course of the next 6 years, I pretty much completely quit doing real estate and sold more of our apartment building portfolio, and was focusing on answering this call. And I ended up going to another Groff module in Joshua Tree, I believe in about 2008. And then the fires broke out up where I lived in Lake Arrowhead, and I left the module to go back up the mountain and be with my family. So that's a whole other story, but that happened like day 2 into the module, and so there wasn't going to be another one coming through anytime soon, and basically I was given a credit, and as it turned out, there was a shamanic group that was going to be there, within a couple of weeks. That would be the Four Winds uh, Society, which was founded by Alberto Violdo, and very interesting story there. But I had read some of his books, and they resonated. And yeah, so I took that as a sign to move towards the shamanic direction. After having that shamanic calling, and I had went through the 2-year program with the Four Winds, and graduated as a light body worker, healer, basically a shamanic practitioner. And that happened in about I think 2010 is when I became certified there. And I got a location, got business cards printed up, created a website, um, had my website being web crawled, and really just, okay, I'm answering the call. This is what I'm supposed to do, and got all set up. But it was just not really, nothing was happening with it. It was certainly not growing, and it was certainly not enough, to keep me busy, and starting to get frustrated about that, because I'm answered this call, and yet I'm not making any money. Additionally, during this period of time, um, I'm still dealing with paranoia, and so that's been a continuing theme, and many experiences of that with marijuana, with mushrooms, with LSD. Um, and so I'm frustrated in that sense, and it's putting stress on our marriage, for sure. My wife is not really thinking that I should be moving away from real estate. That's what we had done really well in, and so I'm saying that, and I'm moving that direction, and I'm opening this business, but no money's coming in. We don't have the income coming in from the income properties anymore, and so it's causing a stress. There's other things going on as well, but basically the marriage is not doing well at that point. And so there's a lot of frustration, and so you can kind of get the picture there. So on this particular day, January 31st, 2012, I'm doing what I call an active imagination. That's a term that I got from Carl Jung, and it describes where you're dialoguing with your own unconscious self, perhaps your higher self, but some aspect of yourself that you're not consciously aware of. And this is something that I do fairly regularly, at that time, maybe a few times a week. Anyway, at this particular day, I've got a softball game to play down the mountain. I live up on the mountain. I've got a softball game, it's 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever it is. And I think there's stress in the house, and I just decide to leave early. I've got also a stop I got to make at Home Depot, pick up some light bulbs. And when I'm down the mountain, I usually generally like to stop and get something to eat. So I just decided to leave a little bit early and to do this active imagination while I'm driving down the hill. It's not something I would recommend doing on a drive that's stressful, but I know I'm driving down the mountain, and a lot of people think that's stressful, but I've been doing it for so many years. I know the road, and it's like a meditation for me. I know the road unconsciously. I could do it. So obviously that's a figure of speech, but you know what I'm saying. I know the road so well that it's just not a stressful thing, and I just cruise in the slow lane, and I can anticipate all the turns, and I'm doing this active dialogue with myself. This particular day, I was really, the intensity was building up, and I was a pressure cooker that really needed to vent. And so on this particular active, and always the active imaginations would sort of, it was like a pep rally. They would always be positive stuff, and I would always feel good, coming out of them. But on this day, I was pissed, and I start the active imagination with my conscious perspective, like you're talking to somebody on a phone or perhaps in the car sitting next to you. So I'm starting the conversation, and I'm just letting it out. In fact, so much so that there was a little bit of fear that I was kind of being sacrilegious, and this was some sort of, I don't know. It's almost like I was angry at God, right? And sort of could almost feel like heresy, or it's the sort of the scene where at the end of the Wizard of Oz, right? There's this the great Oz, but finally Dorothy's had enough, and she's just pissed, and she just overflows, right? And that's what it was like. And I was saying, everything was going really good for me. I had a successful real estate career. We had an investment portfolio that was giving us a steady income. We were successful in our marriage. Had young children. We lived in a nice neighborhood. It was this beautiful life, especially seen through the lens of the American dream. And now it's just the finances have gone down, the relationship's gone down. I've spent a lot of time and energy and money into moving in the shamanic direction. I have graduated from their program and, started a business doing shamanic healing because that was my calling, a shamanic calling. And by all measures, it was a disaster. It just wasn't, no aspects of my life were working at that point. And I just like, what the fuck? I answered the call. I trust in this higher intelligence, and where you lead, this is going nowhere. And I was literally like, once I decided to kind of let some out, then it was like fucking let it all out. And I was literally screaming in the car, and I'm sure people that were, driving by, I might have looked pretty insane. Um, anyway, I just let it all out, let it all out, let it all out until finally there was the sense of, I had gotten it out. And then there's just sort of a silence, and then the unconscious comes through, which is typical, but usually it's more obvious because there's a conversation and you just sort of know when it goes back and forth. This was more of just an unloading, right? So anyway, then there was a pause. So my higher self didn't cut in. It totally let. I say, okay. So I've already told you from my perspective, this is the higher self. I think it's a mistake to say my higher self, because then you're identifying as Carl, who has this higher self. And the whole idea here is to understand that you are the eternal, indestructible, infinite aspect. So I don't have a higher self. The true self has an ego, or this dream of a life that it's has an ego, and it's the dream of my life. So, but anyway, the higher self didn't interrupt, and there was a silence, and finally just said, "Are you through?" Like, I was almost thinking they were going to, like, I was going to be in trouble for the belching out of everything that I just spit out there, and my tone. And then so I was very unexpected to hear, are you through? And so that actually made me laugh because there was no judgment in what I had said or whatever. Just, are you through? Like, is that it? And so then I thought, yeah, I mean, yeah, I've pretty much said what I need to say, but it did kind of make me chuckle. And the information that proceeded to come through, which is, again, I'm speaking, but it's not my conscious perspective. It's like I'm dialoguing, right? You could say it's a child playing, pretending. You can say whatever you want, but I'm using my imagination, and I've gotten a lot of good information this way. And so, but this was different. This time I was angry at the connection, you could say. So anyway, I said I was through, and then basically I was, first off, basically said, whoever told you you were going to, did we ever tell you that you were supposed to go out and become this shaman? And, well, no, I mean, I had a shamanic calling. Okay, you had a shamanic calling, but does that mean, how does that, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that, and, yes, we were calling you towards something, but it wasn't so that you could become a shamanic practitioner, and that's your new, your new gig, so to speak. Something much deeper than that. And then I'm like, okay, well, what is that? And then, equally as surprising, the higher self started saying to me, do you remember, of course you remember, your most powerful, most memorable, like, biggest dream you've ever had? And I thought, oh yeah, I know what that is. And so there was a dream I had when I was about 8 years old, maybe 9. And I'll never forget this dream. And I think when you hear it, you'll know why. But so basically, I'm 9 years old, 8 years old. At that time, I'm living with my 2 younger brothers and my parents, and we're in a, nice middle class home in Yorba Linda. Growing, that's my life. That's all I know. Everything's good. I've got my dad and mom, and my mom and dad love me, and I'm protected, and I know where to go for my food, and I know where they drop me off at school. It's just like it's easy peasy, right? Life is good. Well, in this dream, all of a sudden, I'm in my house, and my parents are watching something on the TV, and it's talking about this incredible storm that's coming in, and so you could see that they're very worried, and yeah, it's storming outside. Next thing you know, the waters are rising, and my dad is instructing us to get up on top of the roof. We've got this ladder, and get up on top of the roof. And so that's where we all get up there, and by this point, the water is, flooded the house, and it's a single-story house, but it's we're on the pitched roof, and the water is, you know, 3 or 4 feet from the top of the pitch. And it's not a sharp pitch, it's a pretty mild pitch, but we're all there, and the waters are continuing, and it's at night. It's really scary, and if it keeps raining like this for another, you know, how fast it rose, another hour or so, we're gonna drown or whatever. And super scary. This is, I mean, I'm living this dream. I'm not realizing it's a dream. It's just terror. And it's nighttime, and as if that's not scary enough, I look out and there's a whale, like this dark, ominous whale. It's night, it's wind, it's swirling, it's pouring rain, the waters are rising, and now there's this evil whale. It just looked ominous, and it was circling us, just waiting for the waters to rise a little more, and then we would be swallowed up for sure. Okay, and so I was just like, ah, and I look over at, I'm looking for my brothers, and they're behind my mom, like cowering behind her, and I'm realizing that's not gonna help. You know, it's like I'm old enough to realize, mom's, that's not gonna be. And I look at my dad, and he's got a gun, and he's shooting the whale, just bang, 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 bang. He's got guns, but it's obvious that each time it shoots the whale's just getting angry. It's just the blubber's just absorbing. It's not hurting the whale at all, and in fact, it's just pissing the whale off. And it's an absolute nightmare, right? I mean, even if we were to somehow kill the whale, the waters are still coming up, and we still got to. It's just, but now it's like all these problems, and so at that moment, I think, what can I do? Well, I can go stand behind my mom like my brothers. I know that's not going to help at all. Or I can get my BB gun and try to help. But I mean, I don't know how it's going to help. My dad's gun's not doing a damn thing. So how is a BB gun going to do anything? But anyway, I've got my BB gun, and I shoot the whale in the eye, and the whale swims off. And I mean, the clouds break, the waters recede, and it's just an amazing story. And, you know, before I shot the whale in the eye, it just would give anything just to have it go away and go back to my life the way it was. My life was so perfect. Why is this horrible stuff happening? And wow. So, as it turns out, before I wake up, of course, in my dream, I'm the hero now. And now it's not just back to the way things were. I get to experience being this hero archetype. And it was absolutely ecstatic. So I had a dream. Of course, I remember because it was absolutely just terrorizing, but then it ultimately ended up in absolute ecstasy, and that was just the most amazing dream, and I've never forgot it. So the higher self, you see me catch myself, my higher self, the higher self is reminding me of that dream, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was a cool. And then it said, do you realize that dream is an archetypal story, and it's the same story as Luke Skywalker shooting the torpedo and blowing up the Death Star? It's archetypal. It all comes down to the precision of the shot, not just, you know, raw military arsenal power. It's the precision, and that's the hero's journey, and that's why where you were called to do in Taos, it's to go on this inner journey, the hero's journey. Joseph Campbell talks about, and it was just this incredible. Like it totally made sense, and it resonated, and I was a huge Star Wars fan, and there was this connection with that movie, and it just totally made sense. I was feeling great, and then there was the idea of, oh yeah, that's right, these pep talks always feel great, and then I go back to my life, and I'm not making any money, and what do I do with this, and all this sort of stuff. And you know, we're at the 20-minute mark, so I'm going to leave this as a standalone video, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is just the first half of one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And so I'm going to pick it up in the next one and talk about that. And it'll be a continuation of what happened once I drove down the mountain and went to Home Depot, something that happened after that, involving where I was going to eat, and it's truly amazing. So I hope that you'll catch the next one because it's truly a remarkable experience. And so I'll leave you with that for now and look forward to the next one, and keep these things at about 20 minutes. So I'll be posting that one soon. All right? Talk to you later. Thanks. Bye.